Coalition Bargaining Session 6. So we've got a brief presentation before we get into our offers, but after our last bargaining session, I'd say you pushed us to take a step back and really carefully consider the concerns raised and just how we're approaching the proposed increase. So, sorry, didn't mean to be doing that yet. So we went back to the drawing board. We came up with an option that I feel balances both the needs of the employees, but also the financial realities we're facing with the healthcare fund. For us, it's important to reach a fair and sustainable agreement. We prefer to resolve this without going through an impasse. And with that, and considering your concerns also that you mentioned with the overall funding split, we have heard you. I believe we've developed options that meet those goals and really do leave us. Yeah, it is being recorded, I believe, Justin. I believe we've developed some options that meet those goals, and it does leave us with a sustainable plan to help close the fund deficit. So these are just some topics we'll hit today, and we'll start here. And with this, compared to our peers who are funded the same way we are funded, we have a far more competitive offerings than for employee health care. And these are some updated numbers, and I'm going to let Nancy jump in and speak to this a little bit just to show where we're at with how we compare our current rates compare with other school districts.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I think the most striking comparison, as we've mentioned before, if you look at our current rates on the far right of this spreadsheet, are just how competitive we are along the lines of family coverage. Really, we are almost peerless there, I think, as we compare to other school districts. I did catch up with some of my peers around the state. Broward Schools, as you know, covers the full cost of individual coverage, but passes on the full cost of dependent coverage. And they have published, they're still negotiating, but they have published their rates for plan year 2025. And so you can see pretty significant increases that are going to be passing along to their dependent tiers of coverage. They can also buy coverage for children, independent coverage. The footnote labeled A speaks to that. Those costs are going up as well. Martin County Schools, their plan year is a little different than ours, and so they also have had to bargain an increase in the cost of their health insurance plans. There's a footnote for them as well because they're also at the table, and they have 2 bargaining units that they're negotiating with. And so along with those increases, there's a one-time supplement that they're offering, but it's only a one-time supplement, and the costs still unfortunately have to go up. Orange County Schools, I'm sure you all are in touch with some of your colleagues on the bargaining side of things in Orange County. Their current rates are listed for you here. I have 3 columns devoted to them. They are still at the table with their bargaining units. And so their current rates, as you can see, they do have a plan that they cover fully, but they had 2 plans. Now there's just going to be 1, and they're having to look at significant increases. I believe the loss to their fund was around, I think their estimated amount that they needed to cover was $40 million. And so they are looking at some significant increases. They're still at the table. I think they may have even had an impasse hearing this week. So stay tuned with that. These rates are where they are now, but they're still discussing. Hillsborough and St. Lucie have kind of already been through this. Hillsborough went from Humana, which went out of the healthcare business, to Aetna, and their rates currently are as populated here. And then also St. Lucie County had a big shift. They have 3 HSA plans, and they had to make their major shift away from the more the generous HMO structure 10 years ago. And so this is a common struggle that all school districts have. And with the cost of healthcare and medical inflation, it's something that all employers share. And so that's just kind of where we are in a nutshell right now.
So I'd also like to touch on the actuarial projections for plan year 2023. They projected a cumulative loss of 29 million. The actual loss was 29 million. So they were spot on. So we do feel confident that their projections are accurate. So that's why we're planning accordingly. These are the projected losses for the years 24 to 26. And I don't know if Heather, do you have anything to weigh in on that, or are we good?
No, we're good. I mean, those we did after our last meeting ask the actuary to project out through 2026. And so these are the cumulative losses if we were to not make any changes to the plan at all and keep premiums at the existing rate.
All right. So before we get to our final recommendations, I'd also like to just point out that we have prioritized raises over the years, even when others were giving little to nothing. But we also maintained a very competitive healthcare plan compared to our the other school districts that are affordable for our employees. From that previous slide, I think it is clear that other districts have not been able to do that, and we have seen some raises from some of those other districts, including Orange, that are below what we offered. So with that, I'd like to say we started high, and when we did the projected claims, were a little higher, and these do fluctuate. And we went through a few iterations of proposals. But ultimately, in an effort to avoid impasse, we have a final 2-year proposal with significant movement since our last session. So for plan year, I'll go through it. You see our previous proposals. Really, we weren't moving much. Neither side was moving much. So we're coming in. We're not trying to go back and forth with, dropping by $5 each time. We're really trying to get to an agreement here. So for plan year 2025, what we're recommending is an employer contribution of $50 per pay period, employee increase of $25 per paycheck, followed by, for plan year 2026, a $25 per paycheck for both employees and the employer. Really what this allows is for more gradual adjustments, makes the financial impact more manageable for the employee. But also with this proposal, the district's going to add a contribution of $6,250. You'll see right here the one-time funding over these 2 years, bringing the total employer contribution over the 2 years to $137.50 per paycheck. After these 2 years, because I know last time we talked, there was concern over the cost share here and just what the split really is. But after these 2 years, we would land at a 76% employer funded and 24% employee funded split, which is, I think significantly better than what our competitors are doing. And with that, I will turn it over to you for questions or
I'm sorry, I missed that last part you said. What was that?
About the split? Is that about the over the 2 years? Is that what you're talking about? You don't know?
Breaking up. Sorry.
I'm still breaking up? I'm sorry. So basically what I was saying is that after these 2 years, we land at a 76% employer funded and 24% employee funded split. So with that, I'll turn it over to the coalition for questions. Mr. Longhofer?
Yeah, a couple of questions. So your proposal for, as posted in the upper half of the page, is per pay cycle contributions. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And then the
6250.
Yeah, is that how does that calculated, Tim?
What do you mean? How's it calculated?
I mean, you said the 6250. You said one time.
So overall, these increases that we have here don't meet the amount of money we need to
Understood.
write the fund. So this is money that we are going to infuse into the plan in order to cover that.
Over the course of 2 years, so this 6250 is being infused by the district. Tell me if I get this right. 6250 is infused by the district on a per participant basis over the course of both years or over the course of 1 year, or that's the calculation I'm looking for. What does this 6250 equate to in dollars, total dollars?
Let Heather step in on that.
It equates to $30 million because that is what our projected shortfall will be after taking into consideration the increase in contributions.
Tell me where let's see, so, because what I'm calculating here right now is you're proposing in 2025 an additional $36 million coming from the district and employees. Is that about right? So using 20,000 people, right?
Close to it.
Yes.
So your 50 and 25 should be about $36 million for 2025. For 2026, that should be $24 million for a total of $60 million. You're proposing to infuse $30 million more for a total of $90 million from all sources over 2 years. Does that sound right?
Yes, it does.
What is the justification for that much of an increase for that extra $30 million? That's what I'm trying to find out. Where's that coming from?
That is the shortfall from where we are in our fund balance to where we need to be for state regulatory purposes.
Okay, does that include where we're coming up short this year?
Right. Correct. So we're short this year, projected $20 million. And so we're going to be short an additional, based on the contributions of the $50 and $25 for plan year 25. That is not going to cover the plan expenses. So we're going to be short an additional $11 million approximately. So that's where the $30 million is coming from.
I do have another question. Have you all been able to see September claims numbers yet?
Yes, we did provide those in our last call. So those are up as well.
I don't recall seeing those claims numbers for September.
We went through them on the last bargaining session, but we can surely provide them.
If you don't mind funneling that file over to me really quick here, anyone that's on the
Nancy, can you do that?
And then we did ask the actuary to project out through 2024 as well as 2025 and 2026 again to provide updated forecasts. And so that was what was on the slide.
We could get that one as well, please, just to make sure that we've all got all the
It's on the slide here today.
Oh,
it's on the slide today. So plan year 2024.
I got it.
Right.
And make sure that the other unions represented here today at the coalition also get that request for the claims numbers. Sorry, I'm missing some names. Not everybody shows up on my screen. Unless the members of the coalition, did any other members of the coalition have questions they would like to ask at this time?
I do not from the SEIU perspective.
Thanks, Joseph. Hearing none, seeing none. Oh, Jim?
No, I was just going to say, no, I don't have a question at this time.
I think caucus time is due.
Sounds good.
It could take a little bit. I'll be fair.
That's fine.
Okay.
I will move over to the
And
breakout rooms and set them up right now. Just give me a moment. You should start seeing the rooms opening up.
I know you're in charge, Diane, so just let me know when everybody's here. Sorry about that, Tim, but she says she looks like she's doing all the work.
No worries, she is. I don't know how to do all that stuff.
Yeah, it appears that we have everyone from the district breakout room. It does appear that there's still some in the breakout room from before. Maybe they were in Mr. Bratt, some of the others, Brenner.
Yeah, we need to get Brenner back. We need, let's see, we got Robert here, so that's good. We need to get Brenner back in. I'm not sure how to do that.
He's not showing that he's waiting. So I don't know if he stepped away. There he is. I believe the others maybe just are not in attendance and they were just moved over. But it does look like we're good now.
All right, well, I will just double check because I know that we had one of our ASOP, I think, people over there too, Joe, didn't we? Did we have somebody else that was there for you? Does she need to be brought back in or?
Jesse, yeah, she should be able to make her way over. Hold on, she might already be here.
If you have a phone
here.
number, maybe you can text her or something, let her know. And if she needs to come back in and start over, I'm sure Diane can help that or Diane can facilitate it one way or another.
I'm in already. I'm in.
Jesse's
Oh,
here.
you're in. Okay, good. Oh, there you are. Okay, cool. So I'm just going to check.
Mr. Fields is still in the other room.
Lehman?
Lehman, yes.
I texted him.
I just kind of want to make sure that everybody's present before we go.
Yep.
Okay, looks like he's left that room. He just hasn't, he's joined ours now.
Okay.
Okay, great.
So let me, then I guess it's in my court today, or my court again. We appreciate the district's significant movement in our direction. It does show the desire to, for on both sides to get to a point where we can make this fund solvent in a way, in a very meaningful way. We agree that it needs to be fair. We agree that it needs to be sustainable. We have another movement in your direction. While the per month charge might not be all that much more, we are proposing now, and I'll put this out there, we are going to propose to you a 3-year deal that leaves a significant amount of positive revenue at the end of that deal for the district. So I'm going to go ahead and present a screen to show you what we're talking about, and then I'll walk through it. I do have a snip of it ready. If you all, when you're ready to caucus, need to have that emailed to you, I will be able to do that in short order, but I didn't want to be able to present this right away. Let me see if I can go just a little bit larger for everyone. Good. That still shows everything. So here's what, and I do need to put in a year because that is missing now. We are proposing to go to $24 per month for us. The district need is only $96 per pay period and following the 80-20 split. But that 80-20 split, as you will see over here in the notes, applies only to 2025. We have added a different line for a separate split of 75%, 25%. That's found in the $72 contribution by the district and $24 by the employees per participant for years 2 and 3 of the deal. The numbers as they grow are right here. You'll recognize several of these numbers. Each number in this column after the 2025 year shows a 3.2% increase in the projected total necessary based upon the 3.2% growth in claims shown on the last monthly report that we received. In the first year, the district would contribute $23 million. The unions would contribute just under $5.8 million. That would grow in the second year for the district by $72 per participant per month, and it would grow for the union by their same $24, and that's the new ratio. That's why we're going up double, but you all are going up less than double. And then we will go up to a factor of 3 times our first year because we're doing the same 24 per month. And the district is going to go up by a similar amount that they rose from 2025 to 26. That grows in 2027. At the end of the 3-year arrangement, there is $10.5 million to the positive side, contributing to the future needs of the fund by that time. We do the cost shifting to get to 7624 so quickly, Tim, was a bit egregious for us because we saw that as an excessive burden on our lowest paid employees. This still allows our lowest paid employees to see, based upon the raises previously approved by the district for other employee groups, if that number is perpetuated for the remaining groups that need to bargain. This does give them an opportunity to see after healthcare costs on the lowest end, at least a net cost of living adjustment raise total besides healthcare for the first year, and then it remains to be negotiated by each union after that going forward, because we would be committing to these price increases for 3 years. But again, it leaves the district in this moves it much more slowly, and it does establish a pattern for us for 2 years of working through increases in costs and increases in any new revenue from employees and management. It does put us in line of doing that on a 75-25 basis going forward, giving us slow but very manageable cost shifting for employees in their group over time. And obviously it is a 3-year deal, so that ends at the end of 3 years, giving everybody the opportunity to offer different numbers. Obviously for management side, Tim, I would presume that they might want to offer another number that's a little more in their favor as well. We might resist it, but we might be willing to contribute a little bit more in that direction as we look at some of those other comparisons. We really do believe that it's best to offer the best possible insurance at the best possible price to our employees. We believe that enhances the opportunity to recruit and retain employees over time. And so this is kind of offered in that direction. I must point out, and this was a big part of our discussion, that whatever the shortage is at the end of 2024, the association, or I should say the coalition, is very unified in that the district needs to own that particular part since we believe that the movement by the district to do only $10 against our $10 really did sap at least $15 million from the fund for that year. But we are prepared to offer this 3-year deal for the 3 years coming up, restoring as much as $10.5 million of that back into the district's insurance trust fund. And again, it could ultimately be a hedge against other increases. It is based on a 3.2% growth of claims, again, based upon the district's information. I think Katie has some additional portion of the request pertaining to language. So I'm going to turn it over to her for now to continue on.
Yes, hopefully it's not controversial, but we would just ask to add language that you all provide the projection claims data and enrollment numbers quarterly to the unions. And we're not asking for a PHI or anything like that, but just to see how your, rate calculation is done and if we're on track and things like that. And we didn't talk about this, but the PBA would even be open to meeting quarterly if we can get a 3-year deal, still meeting quarterly to see where we are with everything, where the projections are, the enrollment numbers, things like that.
Gordon, I'm going to ask you to go back and explain. I'm not sure I caught exactly what the employee premium increases are year 1, 2, or 3. I saw year 1 is 24. Am I correct?
The employee increases in premium are right here in this line. Per month, increase to employees 25, 26, and 27.
Oh, that's per month.
Yeah, $24 per month, $12 per pay period. Each year, it escalates to the next 12, additional 12 per month per period. Is that clear?
No,
Tim, does that make sense?
Still not, I still have clear questions on that. So let's just do 2025. So plan year 2025, the district per check increase would be?
$24 per check, $12 per pay period.
No, for the school, the district's contribution would be?
$48 per pay period, $96 per month.
And employee would be 12.
And the employee would be 12 for 2025 only.
Okay, now 2026.
I'll commit to that in another way to see this. 2026, and let's make this per pay cycle 2026. Additional 12. I mean, this is I'll just say add 12.
Well, just put in 24, right? Are you saying 24 and then 36?
Right. The total increase for that year would have been 24 from the previous year and 36 by 2027. So $12 per pay period per year.
Or no, you're just saying an additional $12. It would just be 12.
What I mean, Heather, is this: $12 per pay period is the increase for employees for 2025. For 2026, add an additional $12 per pay period for that year. And for 2027, add an additional $12 per pay period for the third year. That's a total of $36 in increases per pay period spread out over 3 years equally.
Okay. And then for the district?
The district will maintain the 80-20 split in the first year and increase by $96. The subsequent 2 years.
$48 a check.
Correct. Then in the subsequent 2 years, they'll increase by $36 a check or $72 per month to equate to a 75-25 split on the new revenue for those 2 years. It slowly shifts cost about 1 percentage point over the 3-year deal.
All right, thank you for clarifying.
Not at all.
Okay. Any other questions, Heather, before we jump in another room?
No.
Okay. We're going to take some time to discuss.
Okay, we're good to go.
Great. Thank you.
All right. Looks like everybody's back. Well, I appreciate everyone's time today. I really do wish we were able to get something done. We really tried hard to make a meaningful effort and put a lot more money down on the table, more than we felt comfortable with. But frankly, that was pretty much the best we can do. We slashed our proposal from $50 to $25. We added a lot more money in one-time funds to cover the shortfall. And, this isn't new. This is something we've been sharing for years. We've been working with you for years, have not passed unnecessary increases, but y'all moved $1. And this, we're just not able to agree to that. This can't all fall on the district. So we're going to reject that proposal. If you want a 3-year deal, we're not opposed to that necessarily. We'd have to look at the actuarial data, go out a little further with that. We can look at something, but anything on that would be tacked on to what we already proposed as the $25.20 per paycheck for each of the next 2 years. So that's all we have.
Ted, just a quick question. Even before we move to the next quarter, if we're going to be moving along or any further than this, are you guys going to pick up that $20 million or whatever the difference was that you didn't put in the last year?
I'll let Heather weigh in on that.
No, the district is not putting any additional money. That is what was agreed to during the last bargaining, and it was clear at that time that was not going to, the agreement of the $5 per paycheck was not going to be sufficient to cover the shortfall, and that was going to continue to grow.
And I'll just have to say, because I went back and I watched the 2022 meetings, I don't think that there was this urgency at that time. I don't think that this was something we've been hearing for years and years. I think that actually what I heard when I listened to it again was that the plan was trending better. And then last year is when we heard the urgency and when we were told that if we didn't pick up half and half, that it would just be all placed on us. And then we came to the deal to cover that small amount on both sides. So I think that's more an accurate description of what happened. And I think that, I don't know, do you have a disagreement with the numbers that we presented today?
Yes, we do.
I'd love to hear that. I'd love to hear what those differences are.
So I would say, first of all, we provided the actuarial projections for plan year 25 and 26. So you were not using the same projections that they had for the increase in claims. That's why we would also have to go out and have the actuary project 2027 as well. You're using a 3% increase in claims. In our last meeting, I talked about that you are netting out the prescription rebates from the claims. Those are not going to, prescription rebates are not going to trend in the same way as the health claims. The actuary is projecting a 6.5% increase in plan year 2026 claims. Looking at forecasting out plan year 2024, they're looking at a 4.5% or 4.6% increase in claims. So that's why we provided that actuarial information so that you could actually look at what the actuary is forecasting for the increase in claims. So you are underestimating the increase in claims. And if we were to look at and play out the proposal that you had, which was the district absorbing the majority of the increase, it doesn't result in a significant increase in 2020 plan year 2027. It would actually result in a shortfall of $18.7 million in plan year 2025 based on the actuarial forecasted claims information. By plan year 2026, the shortfall would be $8 million, and by plan year 2027, there would be without having the information from the actuary, I'm using a 6% increase in claims, which seems consistent with what the actuary has been forecasting for 2025 and 2026. I don't feel comfortable giving that number and why I would need to have some actual forecast from the actuary. But to use 6% as just a placeholder would result in a surplus of $5 million. Assuming that 6%, so that's not a significant increase, and that would still result in a approximately $42 million shortfall in the amount that is necessary to get the district back is required for the regulatory reserve. So it's not sufficient, and then it would be putting the burden on the school district. We don't know what funding is going to look like over the next 3 years. This current year, there was a 2.1% increase in funding from the state. We don't know what enrollment is going to look like. We don't know how vouchers are going to grow. We don't know what the increases in FRS are going to be. We had 2 years ago an increase of $18 million in our pension benefits. As a district, we are very limited in our funding and how we generate our funding. It is mandated by the state legislature. We are not fortunate like the counties and the municipalities where we set our own millage rate. I wish we did have that capability, but we don't. And so we really do have our hands tied in a sense that we are limited to whatever funding the state legislature sets each year. So, I mean, we just, by setting aside and that amount of money, it just does take additional money off the table for the district to put towards raises in the future.
Hey, Heather, this is Rob Fitzpatrick. I have a quick question for you. Based upon the data that was shared with us, you had in 2022, you had a surplus at the beginning of the year of $75.5 million. And in 2023, it was $85.9 million. But in 2024, it dropped to $56.5 million. Is that what you have as well?
I would have to go back to look at it. I mean, it does sound consistent. We were using our federal ESSER dollars in order to supplement the increase in claims during COVID.
Right.
Exactly. And those are one-time funds, and we don't have the ESSER funds, those federal funds, in order to continue to add and to supplement the fund. The thought is that we would have, if there was a spike in the claims because of COVID, as a result of COVID. It's hard to remember now what it was and what we were going through as a country during that time period. But there was a significant spike in health claims. It was anticipated that, or at least there was a hope that the health claims would go back to those pre-COVID levels, but they never did.
I understand that, Heather, but at the same token, during the shutdown period, the district paid hardly any claims. So, when you balance everything out, it was almost a wash.
No, that's not true.
It may be a couple of dollars difference, but
no, there was a significant increase in claims, and that's why we were able to utilize the federal ESSER dollars to cover COVID-related claims. We were not using the ESSER dollars, the federal dollars. We were not allowed to use them to just supplement our fund. We had to receive reports from United Healthcare of COVID-related health claims. And those are the only claims that we were able to get reimbursed through the federal ESSER funds. They were not supplementing just our regular claims. Our regular claims didn't.
I'm not worried about that. What I'm saying to you is, you remember the bad side of the COVID when people started coming out of the lockdowns and started going back and utilizing the doctor. But there was a certain period of time, although Florida was a lot less than the rest of the country, we did have a lockdown period where a lot of people just stopped going to the doctors. Doctors' offices weren't open. Claims dollars spent on the monthly trend rate weren't there. So at the same token, while you did spend some money on the back end, you saved some money on the front end, it balances out is all I'm saying. But the real question is, when you went through the 2023 year to the 2024 year, it looks like a significant spend down in that reserve fund from 85 down to 56. While I understand you had COVID relief funds put in there, but I'm sure you didn't budget for those COVID relief funds to be on an ongoing basis. So my point is, why the spend down so much? Did you guys properly budget going from 23 to 24?
The district did properly budget, and the district did have ongoing communications with the unions for the past several years, going through the process of showing the increase in claims because of COVID. We did not have a year where our health claims decreased as a result of COVID. So I just want to correct you on that. People were still going to the doctor during COVID, and we did not see a decrease in health claims.
Okay.
So there wasn't a savings that was realized by that. By having a health fund and a separate health fund, all of the savings that are generated stay within the health fund. What happened is that as COVID continued, as we were starting to come out of the pandemic, there are fewer and fewer health claims that were actually eligible for ESSER reimbursement because they were no longer tied to COVID. And so those one-time funds were not eligible to be put in the fund, yet the claims continue to increase. So that's why you see the spend down, is that there's an increase in health claims and the premiums were not sufficient to cover them. We had the discussion in hopes of, coming out of COVID, that we would see whether the claims would go back to pre-COVID levels. We agreed to send the information not quarterly to the unions, but monthly to the unions, so that they could monitor the claims the same way that we were. The claims, unfortunately, were not receding. So that is why last year there was a significant need that it was necessary that we increase the health premiums. If there was not the agreement on the union side, the district matched what was presented on the union side. We presented it was not going to be enough. We knew it, unfortunately, was not going to be enough. That most likely claims were going to continue to increase. So not only did we have the shortfall for the last 2 years, but now we're going to have the shortfall for this year as well.
Okay, and getting back to Katie's point, you mentioned that apparently, and Katie, what was the word you used, that it was doing better? I believe you said from 22.
Yeah, that it was trending better is what I heard this morning when I listened to the 2022 tape. And also, I think there was discussion that some of the COVID claims were labeled as COVID related, but they weren't really COVID related.
Right. So then, no, I didn't say that they weren't COVID related. They were coded as COVID related, but it could have not necessarily been directly 100% COVID related. When we would ask for the reports are pulled and by United Healthcare. The diagnoses are coded by the hospital facilities or the physician, and so there could have been claims within there that were coded as COVID. For example, we had one that was somebody having a baby, so that was COVID, coded as COVID because the mother had COVID when she had the baby. I use that as an example to say the mother was going to have the baby regardless of it being of her having COVID or not. So that's why I was saying that the health claims did not recede. The health claims did go down, I believe about 2% without looking at the numbers in front of me. But the increase in claims was over, I want to say 15%, which I would have to go back and confirm those numbers. So the decrease was much less than what the actual increase.
That was in 23, 24, Heather?
I'd have to go back to look, but it was we had a significant increase going, starting in 20, 21, 22. And so our health plan prior to COVID was at that point a break even. And it was after the time period of, or not after, but as a result of and during COVID was when we saw that significant spike in health claims.
But that's where I get confused. Right. So like I said, in 2022, you had a surplus of 75.5 million. But in 23, you had a surplus of 85.9 million. So that's a $10.4 million increase in surplus to the reserve fund.
Because we were putting additional funds in there from ESSER to help offset that increase in the health claims.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And then as the claims continued and as health claims were no longer eligible for ESSER reimbursement, those one-time funds are not being put in the fund. The claims continue to stay steady, pretty much steady and consistent, and are not going down, except for that slight decrease of 2%. Unfortunately, that didn't continue, which we could all tell by looking at the monthly reports that were being provided to the unions over the past several years. And so as the claims exceeded the premiums, that's how you end up spending down the reserve funds.
Mm-hmm.
So that 6%, that doesn't include any of the rebates, the 6% increase in claims you're talking about?
It does not include the 6% does not include the rebates, because that 6% trend is just the trend on the health claims. The health premiums are still included. But the health, the prescription rebates are still included, but they're not trending at a 6% increase. And so that's why I need the information and the forecast from the actuary, because prescription rebates are not going to trend, like I mentioned in the last meeting, the same way that the health claims are going to trend.
No,
Sorry to interrupt, folks, but with this meeting was scheduled for, to end at 1. A lot of people need to hop off this meeting, so we're going to have to send out some options to reschedule if we want to have another session. So we will reach out to everybody if you are interested in scheduling another session. But for today, that's all we've got.
Okay, yeah, because we want to talk further about the rebates because I think they're projected at over 30 million, and we just want to talk more about how that money's being used too. So,
if there are some specific questions that you have, I definitely would welcome you to send that to us. That way we could prepare for the meeting to share that information. But some of that stuff might take some time to look at it and have it. So any questions you have, send it to us and let us know your availability for future meetings.
Okay,
Right.
I'm always down to share information, and I think I do have availability. I guess I'll just throw out my availability now if you want.
If you could just email it to Diane, that would be great. Or Diane, you could kind of coordinate that of what options we have, and she does the scheduling. So,
Okay,
all right,
I will do that.
all right. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.